Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. Also make sure you turn off the water supply underneath the sink. In this video we're going to show you how to change out the KitchenAid Refrigerator Freezer Door Gasket. It's going to be a very easy repair and should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the instructions and the new freezer door gasket. The freezer door gasket goes around the edge of the freezer door and it seals the freezer section. The main reason you'll be changing it out is if it's torn or damaged and it's letting warm air come into the freezer. To change the part, we have to take the freezer door off the refrigerator. First thing we're going to do is open up both doors so we can take the kick plate off. To get the kick plate off, there's a locking tab on each end. We're just going to take a putty knife and carefully get in between the frame and the kick plate so we don't scratch anything. And then we can twist the putty knife to release the locking tab. Once you have this side done, we can do the one on the other. It comes off the same way. Once you have the kick plate off, we can pull it out and set it aside. Now that we have the kick plate out of the way, we can disconnect the water union. We're going to throw a towel down, catch any water that may come out. We're going to use our 3/8" wrench to remove the 1/4 inch line from the union. All you have to do is press up against the release collar with the wrench and pull the water line out. Once you have it disconnected, you can pull the towel out. Next, we have to take everything off the freezer door to make it lighter when we lift off the hinges. So you want to clean everything off the shelves and take the ice bucket off and set it aside. All you have to do is press the button, lift it off, and take it off the door. Now that we have everything off the freezer door, we can close both doors and we can grab a step stool so we can go up and remove the upper freezer door hinge. To get the hinge cover off, we're going to use a 5/16 inch socket with an extension and a ratchet to take out the bolt that holds it down. Once you have the bolt all the way out, you can lift the bolt and the cover off and set it aside. And then we can disconnect the wiring harness. All you have to do is pull on this. There's a little locking tab right there that if it's stuck, you can use a small flathead screwdriver, but it shouldn't be that tight. You should just be able to pull it. Once you have that disconnected, we can grab the ratchet in the socket again. We're going to take out these 3 bolts that hold the hinge to the top of the cabinet. Once you have the bolts out, you want to make sure that the hinge isn't stuck to the cabinet. And then we're going to hold the door against the cabinet as we get off the stool, and then we can lift it off the lower hinge. Now we can carefully lift the freezer door off the lower hinge. You have to lift it up high enough so the water line comes out. Once you have it off, we can set it on a table so we can take the gasket off. Once you have the freezer door off the refrigerator, you can set it on a table. Make sure you put a towel down so you don't damage it. Before we cut the old gasket off, we're going to put the new gasket on top of it just to make sure that it's the right size. All you have to do is lay the gasket on top of the old one and make sure that it's the same size. As you're getting ready to put this new gasket on, you can put it out in the sun to help get some of these creases off or run it under some warm water. You want to make it pliable so that when you put it on, it seats properly and you get a good seal. Once you're sure that you have the right gasket, you can lift it off and then we can cut the old gasket off. In order to cut the old gasket off, we're going to start in the middle of one of the long sides of the gasket, and we're just going to take a wire cutters and we're going to cut the gasket halfway, and then we're going to pull it out and cut it the rest of the way. So once you have this lifted up, we're just going to take the wire cutters and cut the gasket. You want to be careful that you don't damage the door or the plastic liner as you're cutting this. Once you have it cut up to the liner, we're going to carefully pull it out. Now, anytime you're pulling this gasket out, you want to make sure that you pull out from the door. Don't pull up against the liner because you might separate the liner from the outer door and you're not going to be able to fix that. So we're just going to carefully pull it out. And once you have it out, we're going to cut it the rest of the way through. And then we can carefully pull it out the whole way around the door. Always remember to pull out and not up. Once you have it out of the groove all the way around, you can pull it off the door. Here's the old freezer door gasket next to the new one. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at appliancepartspros.com. Before we put the new door gasket on, we have to go around and make sure that this channel is clear of any foam that may have come out as we pull the old gasket out. We're going to take a putty knife and wrap some tape around it with just about 1/4 of an inch sticking out, so we can carefully go around and clear this channel out. You don't want to go any deeper than 1/4 inch because you don't want to damage the inner liner. You just want to go around, make sure it's clean very carefully so you don't scratch anything. Once you have the channel cleaned out, we can put the gasket on. In order to put the new freezer door gasket on, we're just going to lay it onto the liner and get each corner oriented in the right spot. And then we're going to actually put each corner on first, and then we'll go around and put all the edges in. To put the gasket in, we have to make sure that this black piece goes into the channel between the liner and the door frame. We're going to do the corners first, so all you have to do is lay it down and push the bead in. Maybe go a couple inches down, and then we can push in the upper one. Once you have it in place, we're going to go do the corners diagonally. That way we'll stretch the gasket out and fit all the corners, and then do the edges. Now that we have the corners in, we can go around the edges and push the plastic bead into the channel. Once you go all the way around the gasket, you want to go around and make sure that the bead's in all the way. It can be kind of hard to get in there between the liner and the door. So we're just going to take a back end of a pliers handle, anything that's plastic that you can push up against the bead area, and we're just going to go around the door and make sure the bead's all the way in so the gasket doesn't fall off. Once you're sure you have the bead pushed all the way into the liner, we can put the freezer door back under the refrigerator. To put the freezer door on, you're going to have to tilt it back so you can see the water line and just feed it through the hinge. Once you have it through, you can lift the freezer door up and set it on the hinge. Once you have it in place, you can carefully swing it closed. And then you want to hang on to it so it doesn't fall. And then we can climb up and put the upper hinge on. Now that we're up top, we're just going to swing the hinge over. You might have to lift it over this bolt right here. And once you have it lined up, we're just going to put all 3 bolts in and get them started. We're not going to tighten them all the way down until we adjust the gap for the gasket. We're going to use that 5/16 socket with an extension and a ratchet again. Now that you have the bolts almost tight, we're going to grab a dime and check the spacing between the door and the cabinet. Should be about a width of a dime. So you just want to make sure that you can stick it in all the way down nice and even. Once you have it tested, we can take the ratchet in the socket and tighten these all down. Once you have it tightened down, you can just test with a dime again to make sure it slides in nice and easy. And then we can connect the wiring harness. To connect the wiring harness, you just have to line it up and plug it in. You want to make sure that the locking tab grabs so you get a good connection. Then we can grab the hinge cover with the bolt already in it and set it down on the hinge. Once you have it in place, we can grab the socket and the ratchet again and tighten it down. Now that we have the hinge cover on, we can go put the ice bucket in. To put the ice bucket in, we're going to open up the freezer door, and all you have to do is set it onto its mounting pegs and make sure it locks into place. If it doesn't go down all the way, you may have to turn the auger a little bit so the coupler lines up. Once you have it in place, we can go down to the bottom of the door and connect the water line. To reconnect the water line, all you have to do is grab the union and grab the 1/4 inch water line and push the water line in all the way so it bottoms out. Once you have it in there, you can pull on it to make sure it's in there and you have a good seal. Once you have it in there, we can stow the water line. Then we can open up the refrigerator door and put the kick plate on. To put the kick plate on, all you have to do is line it up, and then you can rotate it up and lock it into place. Now that we have the kick plate on, we can close the refrigerator door. Before you close the freezer door, you want to take a look at the gasket. If you see any of these wrinkles or anything that didn't come out when you laid it out in the sun or put it in warm water, you may have to take a blow dryer on low heat and kind of work these out. And then as you work them out, once you get them kind of smooth while the gasket's still warm, you can close the door so it cools off while the gasket is pressed up against the flat body. And then you can leave the door closed as long as possible until you go into the freezer, so that'll help it set up. And also, you'll never get them all out, and sometimes it'll take a week or so until the gasket sets in and you start to get a really good seal. So once you have everything ready and you're done with the gasket, you can close the freezer door. Once you have the door closed, we can plug it back in, turn the water back on, and make sure it starts to cool. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.